Now for Rolls-Royce, they introduced the Spirit I in 1980 to replace the Shadow II.
That's correct. The Spirits went the way through with very little change, very, very minor cosmetic changes. Fuel injection was added in 87 until 1990 when they put active ride on and called the car the Spirit II. The body shell of the Spirit has not changed as much as the Bentley, and it's the same body shell essentially as the one that has been used since 1982 up until last year when they stopped producing the Spirit.
What did active ride add to the cars?
Active Ride altered the dashboard internally very, very slightly. The biggest improvement is the cars handle more like a modern car, a modern sports car. The suspension had been designed in the late 70s, early 80s and introduced in the early 80s in the Spirit, and it was 80s technology. The Active Ride added the 90s modern technology, enabled you to drive the car quite hard and it wouldn't wallow around, it would hold the road a lot better.
Just talk us through the interior and the sort of elegance that the craftsmen there put into the leather and the wood and the whole ambience of the car.
This is an early Spirit, room for 2 to 3 people on the rear, with full top quality hand stitched Connolly hide, burr walnut, which is made from one piece, which carries on right the way through the car. We believe that there is a complete copy of every piece of wood used in the car kept at Rolls-Royce on file should you ever have to have it replaced. In the rear section, cigar tray, cigar lighter, map pocket, coat hook, grab handle, map reading light and a rear courtesy light. And of course a vanity mirror, same for both sides. That is standard equipment. The only car you'll find that doesn't have those fittings is a Bentley 8, whereas the pockets are mesh and the map mirrors are extra.
When it comes to buying a car these days, what can you get for £10,000? Well, you could have a brand new top-of-the-range Ford Fiesta, for instance. You could have, well, take your pick of the Repmobiles, a Mondeo, a Vectra, a Peugeot 406, a couple of years old model, for instance. Or you could have a Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit. This is a 1980 model. It's one of the early Silver Spirit models when it was changed from the previous Shadow II and the Wraith II. And £10,000 will buy you this car. This has done, what, nearly 85,000 miles. But again, it's in absolutely immaculate condition. There's one or two little bits and bobs around the bodywork that might need sorting out. Bits of rust, it's a little damp inside one or two of the footwells. But apart from that, it's great. And it drives, well, quite differently from the Bentley Turbo R. This tends to wallow more going round corners. There's far more body roll, and the ride is not as firm. It tends to bounce. The suspension is a lot softer, but it still nevertheless is a very good ride. And there is something about driving a Rolls-Royce, about seeing that silver lady on the front of the bonnet just in front of you and thinking, well, I'm driving a very special car, something that's had a huge amount of work gone into it when this car was new. It's wood, it's leather, it's all the craftsmanship that took to build this car. And again, if you want something like this, you have to look into things like the insurance, the running costs, and find that they are comparatively low. Also, look around on something like this. After all, this is not far off 20 years old. You want to check things like, well, all the electric windows work, the electric mirrors work, the air conditioning functions properly, and that it's throwing out lots and lots of cool air. Because if that needs recharging, if it needs looking at, it will be expensive. There are things about Rolls-Royces that you have to get used to, little quirks that every car has. Things like the column-mounted gear change. I mean, after all, how many cars these days have a column-mounted gear change? The only one I can think of is the new Rolls-Royce Silver Serif. It still continues into that. Things like the Bakelite steering wheel, very, very thin. The Bakelite controls for the indicators and windscreen wipers. But after all, you're driving, well, something with a bit of history. Turn up at a hotel in this and you'll find the doorman jumping to attention, opening your doors, offering to park the car for you, sir. And you say, yes, thank you very much indeed. Little does he know that you're driving around in a £10,000 Rolls-Royce with a private number plate on. You really can't differentiate very much between something like this from 1980 and perhaps something from 1995.